As I mentioned yesterday, there's a disturbing commonality to both sides calling for revolution these days, with both of their calls being predicated on a romanticism of the concept, and a failing to understand the cause and effect such a societal shock has on everyone. Today I'm going to get into the risk of revolution. I want to stress though, I get those who have been waiting for change for centuries on racial fronts, on pre-colonial rights, on compensation for injustice, saying they've already waited too long. That's all true. No one should come from this thinking that demands for change aren't useful or relevant or necessary, because change doesn't happen if people don't demand it. And to those who feel that their cultures are on fire while too many others spend their days scarfing down society's comforts, it doesn't seem like change can come fast enough. But the lessons of history are brutally repetitive. The intended beneficiaries rarely get what they seek in revolution. The elation of a post-revolution victory is always, and I stress always, short-lived. And the real danger of radical change is not to those who have power now, but to those wanting something else. Because the trigger of radical change is anarchy, and every revolution has suffered the shocks of it. The American Revolution, for example, saw the nouveau riche of America convince the masses of their fellow citizens to take up arms against the ancient regime of British monarchy. A war that lasted 8 years, took hundreds of thousands of lives, and ended with the conflicting ideology of states or individual rights at odds with federalist or communal rights. A struggle that has continued to this day. But the things few are aware of is that many groups tried to overthrow the founding fathers right after that revolution, and they were often brutally put down by the victors of the revolution. People who now had the wealth and were quick to implement ways to keep it. The regime change didn't amount to much for a lot of colonists. It merely replaced one set of masters for another. A fact made painfully obvious by the reality that those benefiting from the system are still pillaging the coffers, still beating the drums against socialism, still suppressing the vote of those who seek change. The U.S. Constitution only guaranteed voting rights to property-owning or tax-paying white males, which was around 6% of the population at the time of signing the Constitution. And it's why certain parties are trying to roll voting rights back to those restrictions. And if you think I'm exaggerating, the U.S. population during the first presidential election was 3,929,214 people. But George Washington won that first presidential election with just 39,624 votes. Join me Thursday as I detail other examples where the societal shock of too rapid a change causes more harm than good. On this day in 1885, Canadian rebel leader of the Métis and father of Manitoba, Louis Riel, was executed for treason. If you're a non-Indigenous Canadian, and really, why would you be, the apology for this was probably the first you were ever taught about Canada's shameful history with the Indigenous people of this land, represented as a one-off event, long past in our history. That apology didn't happen until 100 years after his execution, long after many saw his acts not as treason but freedom fighting, and even then, it would be until 1992 before his unique and historic role in the development of early Canada was recognized by any part of the government in any sort of positive way. By the way, the Métis have rejected calls for pardoning Louis Riel because, as it's been argued, the wrongs were done by Canada, not Louis, so he isn't the problem here. It's also Clarinet Day, International Day for Tolerance, Button Day, Fast Food Day, Entrepreneurs Day, and Have a Party with Your Bear Day. Around here, every day is Have a Party with Your Bear Day. And that's today's Duza Bear Digest. See you tomorrow!